Oh, should I mute?
We're live now. You don't have to mute.
Too late.
There's a disembodied voice coming through. If you hear a disembodied voice, well, some of you may recognize that disembodied voice, but we'll put a body to the voice soon.
Ho,
Soon.
ho, ho.
So, what you guys have just stumbled into is something called I don't know, my channel, donkeyjawprojects.com. That's where I'm from. I'm Marshall Lee, also known as Plex, I guess, because now I'm doing music again. So I guess I'm going by that alias again. And, I make comics, and this is, Marsh Makes Comics show, I guess. And anyways, so we're going to talk today um, about playing. There's I used to have this whole thing where I talked about like what talent is. I still do, I guess, but and one of the principles is play. Some other people might call it practice, but I like to call it play. But I've recently stumbled on some new things with this that I think is interesting, and yeah, so we're going to talk about that. But first, I wanted to talk about my sponsor, which is The Vault Mini Comics by Aaron Guzman and Jason Alexander. And they've been putting out mini comics. This is the third iteration or the third version where they're putting out mini comics, and they're pretty cool. Every month they put out some new mini comics with Jason writing them and Aaron drawing them. Aaron did the Janacana story. He did the art for that I wrote for one of the Pulp Anthologies, which you can find the link down below. There's now a new Pulp Anthology already, a holiday one, but I don't have a link for that, unfortunately. But you can at least see this one, and it's really cool. But there's also a link for these mini comics, which are really cool. Those guys are making some awesome work, and the art is awesome. We got The End, a story called The End, one called The Paradigm Shift, number 1 of 3, and Hourglass, number 3 of 6. And I just wanted to let you guys know you can find it at minicomicbundles.com, and there's a link in the description. So
Wow.
I think it's awesome personally. So I wanted to just share that with you guys. So without further ado, let's introduce the disembodied voice of Christmas Spirit. And his name is Mr. Michael
Merry Christmas to all.
Yes, awesome. So how you doing, man? Tell people about who you are, where you're from, and what you do, and everything.
Oh, wow. All of it. Well, I'm Mike Emeritz. I make comics, art, mostly art these days, but I'm very slow at making comics. It takes me quite a while. And that's about it. I put out a couple books for the hundreds back when we were doing that stuff with Marsh. And since then, I've been kind of spinning off doing my own thing, just trying to keep it together like everybody else right now.
Yeah, totally. There's something I've heard echoes in the world of something called Sisyphean complex, which I think is kind of neat.
Yeah, I don't have any of my stuff. I'm moving too, so all my stuff is down. Otherwise, I'd have something to show you from that. But yeah, that is my comic and my life. Sisyphean complex.
Your life, I like that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, let's see if we can do a little magic here, real quick. And oh yeah,
here we go. Hey, I know that.
Is it okay if I share your Instagram?
Yeah, that's fine. My little doodles.
Now that I've already shared it, sorry. But
I got the real one.
I pulled up this because this is going to be a jump off point for our conversation. It's a little
cool.
Mike, and I think it's pretty awesome. But you can see he's been back at it with this complex, which I think is awesome. And something really cool that happened recently, which is this. Oh, check that out. this is I don't know. Talk about it a little bit.
Well, it was a very fortunate commission, actually. So very, very rarely do you ever get a commission where somebody wants like your own stuff. Usually they want you to draw something else, like a superhero or their character or something. But this person commissioned me to make a cover featuring my own characters from Sisyphine Complex. And they wanted it for the cover of their new magazine called Catalyst. It's for like indie comics and stuff. I don't know exactly like what like if it's going to be a monthly or a quarterly, or I don't know much about the magazine, but um, it was an awesome commission because it was like I get to basically do a cover that within our contract I could use for my book or whatever too. So it was like I got paid to make a cover for myself, which is weird, but very, very thankful for that. And yeah, so this was sort of my first attempt to kind of dial in some form of a style. I'm still playing around with a lot of the visual aspects of how I want the book to look, but this was kind of cool for me to kind of put these girls together for the first time. They're all kind of like uh, aspects of one personality, I guess you could say, and so that's why they're all similar but different. And it was fun. It was fun to put together and really play around with that kind of thing because I haven't thought too much about covers yet either. And so to do a cover that sort of represented the oddity and the weirdness of the book, I thought would be kind of neat to put out there. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's pretty darn neat, and it's been cool to watch you go through the process and even talk a little bit with you about it. It's been really fun seeing how that all works. And I'm a fan of Sisyphean Complex. It hasn't even come out yet, but I'm a fan, and you could tell because I may or may not have a little bit of
Oh,
fan
that's true. Yeah,
work
you got a
there.
few.
Yeah, there's some other stuff too, but
Nice.
yeah, no. Well, yeah, there's another one that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you got some of the early concept work. That's
Love
awesome.
it. So, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to just seeing the progress continue. It's freaking awesome, everything I've seen so far. And you guys can find a link to Mike's Instagram in the description. So it's a good place to follow him. He's got some really cool art.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man, totally. I love it. So to get the conversation rolling here, there's something I noticed this, and this wasn't. I've been on this road lately, where let's see. I'll bring the screens back for now. Here we go. I've been on this kind of road lately where I'm just like going through a process. I've talked about it before. I'm one of the hardest years of my life, and COVID is just the tip of the iceberg for me. I got other things going on. So that being said, I've been going through a process of reevaluation with everything I'm doing creatively, and it took me a while. It took me a few months to I lost footing, stopped doing everything. Took me a few months to get back. I got back. I was kind of full steam ahead. And then I think I kind of burnt myself out. Doing YouTube videos and connecting with people is part of it, but then also just trying to create a million projects, and comics aren't easy projects to create. So having a million of those is just like kind of insane.
Definitely. Yeah.
So
I could barely juggle the one, man. I don't know how you do so many.
well,
And we got the one going together too. So now that's two. My gosh.
yeah. Well, I mean, I don't really juggle them very well, so.
But you still do. It's all right if you drop a few cups every now and then, but you keep it all in the air.
As long as you keep your coffee cup, you're good.
Yeah, that's the most important one.
Or your rum or whatever. So yeah, so I've been working on a lot of stuff, and I a long time ago kind of stopped making music, which is, well, I shouldn't say a long time ago, but I mean, I kind of gave up. I gave up comics for music for many years, and then I kind of gave up music for comics for many years. And now I'm kind of doing both finally, I think. I'm still edging my way back into comics with this brief, 1 or 2 month kind of hiatus I've been going on. But the music I found has been, it's been this thing where I'm like, I just need to make something that doesn't take like a million years and
Yeah.
doesn't like
Oh man.
take everything from me to create. And I just need to get away from all those things that have been hovering over my head that I've had to get to, and just experiment and enjoy like playing and having fun trying to just make some music, and so that's been a really cool thing for me. And it's cool because I've been pretty much just making like hip hop beats, which is something I love to do.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, I've been checking that out on Instagram.
Thanks. Yeah. And so I've been like exploring. I even set up like a pseudo project. It's called Beat Sketches. And I just add a new song or new few songs as I go. And you can find it at Bandcamp. There's one in the description. But it's free. I'm not like going crazy with it. It's not super, polished or anything. That's literally Beat Sketches. And it's fun, and I've just been able to kind of just explore, and it's been really helpful and therapeutic. um, and so now I'm like thinking about all my comic projects, and I'm like, I don't know, like it's become it's felt more like a burden than a joy lately. And so now I'm rethinking kind of my approach even to that. And somehow I've stumbled across a few different things. One thing that I'm really excited to get into music wise is modular synthesis, which, if you don't know, it's the synthesizer music that is made with things that look like you're controlling a spaceship, which it's got all the kind of chords and stuff sticking up out everywhere. There's dials and buttons, and it's
That's
crazy.
awesome.
But it's like it's just the thing I need right now. Like I don't have it one right now. They're expensive. You got to put modules together, and I'm gonna get something and kind of build as I go again. But
Cool.
I've been doing it. There's on the iPad. I've been making a lot of my music, and there's programs that can kind of do that. So the thing is, though, is like you have kind of less control over what you're creating, especially when you're just learning. But that's kind of the nature of that kind of music is there is less control, and you're kind of almost collaborating with the computers, with the machines in an interesting way.
That's a cool way to
um,
put it.
yeah, and it's like they're generating ideas for you, sort of, and then you're kind of curating it. And I've actually learned that that's really what creativity is like. When it comes down to it, no matter how kind of like intentional we are, when it really comes down to it, it's you're going through the process and you're saying yes to some things and no to other things, yes to some things, no to other
Totally.
things. It's the whole process is just that, really, when if you boil it all down to that. And it's so really when it comes down to it, like there's this thing where sometimes a computer or a machine or even all kinds of random things. I mean, with hip hop, we use samples. Like we don't even, I mean, some people make their own stuff. I do sometimes, but a lot of times we use samples, and it's like we repurpose it though. We cut it up, we do all kinds of things, we put effects on it, and it becomes something new. Sometimes people just play a loop, and that's different. But even that is repurposing it in an interesting way.
Right.
Um, and so I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I've come across also, and this will be the last thing before we really start discussing, is this kind of thing called generative art. And there's all kinds of different things in that world. There's also generative music. There's all kinds of generative things, and we'll get into how we can even maybe put this towards comics. But this is like people making art. Like this is coders making art from code. Like this
Yeah.
is like one way of doing it, but when it comes down to it, there's so many ways to do generative art. And even like I said, samples. Even if you play a guitar, like you didn't, whatever it is that you do, like like I would have never made hip hop if hip hop didn't already exist. So there's already a format,
Mm.
and hip hop sounded a certain way at one time, and then at another time it sounded a different way, and another time like it evolved. So
Right.
like there's so much input like that. Really, what we're generating is this curation. When we create something, we're just curating something into what we like the best we can. I don't
Yeah.
know. Does that make sense? Does that sound like
Totally, man. Totally. And I kind of agree with that statement of that a lot of it is sort of out of your control. It's making decisions. It's deciding what stays and what goes. I mean, that's the same for like your art style, you know? Like nobody just develops an art style out of the blue, like whether it's conscious or unconscious, it comes from your taste. You know, what do you like? Oh, I like the color blue, or I like the way that guy does lines, or I like the way that girl shades, or whatever. All these things we're kind of like digesting in our brains anyways, and you don't always get to choose what you're exposed to, you know. That's why when I'm able to, and when, you know, right now is a little different, but I like getting out. I like seeing the world, going to the library, going to a museum, stuff like that, because in a way you're kind of like you're putting yourself in that state of having this random information kind of thrown at you that you didn't get to choose. You're just going to turn a corner and see something new, you know? And that kind of exposure slowly but surely adds up to your influences and your kind of memories and everything that goes into your art. And so, yeah, I think in a lot of ways, this generative is how do you say it?
like generative?
Generative. Yeah,
Mhm.
whatever.
It's
Um,
hard to say.
It is, at least right now it is. I think it's sort of something that we do even unconsciously already, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I love the idea of kind of, especially when you're feeling down or you're feeling like you can't get into gear to make something, or you're not feeling as creative. That kind of stuff can be just the thing to like get you going, you know. Like when I was still doing the 100 days, even with writing, a big thing that I like to do is I don't have them right now, but I had these little containers, these little plastic containers, and there was like three of them that would be kind of different prompts. So it would be like a theme, you know, some kind of random theme. I would write them down when I would think of them, and I'd stick them in this kind of bucket container thing. And then another would be a setting, another would be a plot, right? And I would just, if I couldn't think of anything, I'd just shake them up and dump out a random thing and boom, make up a story with that stuff, which is really similar to like what you're talking about. It's just, you know, maybe a little bit more manual after that, but still like sort of this imposed pieces of the puzzle that you have to deal with. You know, here you go. You didn't necessarily pick those, but this is what you have to work with. Run with it. You know, and that can really like unlock crazy parts of your brain because we get stuck in doing the same systematic things all the time. You know, you draw a nose that you like, you finally, you know, nail eyeballs or whatever it is, and now every eyeball you draw looks like that, every nose looks like that, every blah 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 blah. So
Yeah.
sometimes you do need to break those patterns with something kind of random thrown in. So this is cool. I like this.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a key to generative art. You know, it uses all the same principles, you know, line, you know, uh, shape, color, all that stuff. But then it adds something like you said, randomness. You know, and they'll put that in the code,
Hmm.
and it's just interesting because they just play with different pieces of code. Some stuff's math. Like I'm probably not going to do that because I'm not good at math and don't know how to code. But I'm trying to find different ways where I can be involved in that too. Because it's like for me, choice presents a paralysis a lot of times. Like that's a big
Mm,
problem for me. It's really hard. Like the more choice I have, I start to have problems creating.
yeah,
And
same
when
here.
yeah, and when there's so much potential, it's just I see the potential and I want to fulfill it all, and it's just not possible. And you know, introducing some of these generative things is just like it's really nice actually, and it's a fun way to explore. And it brings kind of the fun back into the creativity, and it gives me like more freedom, and it feels more therapeutic right now, especially for me,
Hmm.
to be able to not try to create a product for a specific end, but just
Yeah,
create. And that's kind of what you were talking about, I think, with this sketch. You want to talk about that a little bit? Where you know,
yeah.
it was cool. I liked reading what you had to say.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it was just sort of random. I didn't plan it. I've just been really feeling like drawing a lot lately. And we're moving. We just bought a house, or we're in the process of buying it. It's the first time that we've done this. So life has just been chaotic. We started this before COVID even started too. So there's a lot of overlap there with just how hectic and strange everything became. But I haven't really had the time to put into my own work, or to just have even just have fun, because I've been taking on more commissions because I'm trying to save money and all this kind of stuff. And so this whole year was meant for me to be working on my comic, and then it suddenly wasn't. I had to switch gears. And I just felt like, man, like I really just want to draw for the sake of drawing, like I just want to doodle. But it's weird because you get to a point where all you're doing is commissions, or maybe you're at a point where, art is your 9 to 5. And so you're just doing it every day. There's multiple kind of versions of the same problem, right? But you do that so often, it's almost like you lose that ability to just do it for fun. You lose that ability to, like, it's like if you're going to spend your time drawing or sketching or whatever, it better be something you could capitalize on. It better be for work. You better be able to sell it. You better be able to turn it into a sticker, etc. And I really got stuck in that mode. And I don't necessarily feel guilty about it, because my career is art. This is what I'm trying to do for a living. And I need to be thinking about that stuff. But at the same time, it's like the well dries up if you don't fill it up again, like that. You can't get around the fact that this is an emotional art form. You're going to put emotions into it one way or another, whether you have to fabricate them or whether you have to find them from within. And I feel like I've never been a person that can just fabricate them. I have to, even if I'm recalling something from the past or whatever, I have to kind of bring some kind of reality into it. And if I'm just not feeling it, it's like I can't even put a line on the paper some days. So anyways, that's sort of a rambly, long-winded explanation for it. But I've been trying to blow off some steam recently. So I started playing this game with my buddy. It's like an RPG type of game. We've been getting into it. It's our weekly thing. We do it one day out of the week. We just, play this game for a while. It's a lot of fun, but it's a turn-based kind of thing. And we're at a point now where sometimes the turns take forever. It's like, which spell should I use? Oh, but if I go over there, da, da, da. And like while you're waiting for the other guy, it's like it could be 10, 15 minutes sometimes. So maybe not that long. Maybe I'm exaggerating. But I just like exploded with like art energy one day. I'm just like, I can't stand waiting for this guy anymore. I'm just going to doodle, I'm just going to pass the time here. And it was so fun, man. It was so fun. And I don't usually draw like fantasy stuff that often, even though I love it. And when I'm, just kind of having fun, I've always drawn fantasy. But lately, especially the last few years, it hasn't aligned with anything I'm doing. My book is pretty much more sci-fi than fantasy. All the commissions I get are more, pop culture kind of stuff, or, somebody else's characters, that kind of thing. Nothing really fantasy. And this was just like, you know what? I'm going to draw this badass elf chick, because that's one of the characters that I'm playing in the game. And it was just fun, man. It was just fun. It was just like being a kid again, just, hey, I'm bored with what's happening now. I'm just going to draw,
Yeah.
And it felt great. And I really wanted to just do a lot more of that. And I'm trying to find a way to sort of restructure my days to allow more of that, just at least a little bit. It doesn't have to soak up the whole day, but maybe for, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour, something like that. Just play, throw some paint on a canvas, digitally. Although with the new place that we're getting, I'm finally going to have a proper studio where I could sling paint around and make a mess. So we'll see. I might be diving into some mess making soon.
Nice.
Awesome. A lot of playing, a lot of stuff I can't sell or do anything with, but it's going to be fun. I just want to throw a lot of clay at the wall and just go nuts.
What's that guy? Is it like Jason Pollock or something Pollock? Or
yeah, Jackson Pollock. Yep.
Jackson Pollock.
Yeah.
You're going to be like the Jackson Pollock of comics.
Yeah. I'm going to get a handle of moonshine and just, you're not going to see me for a week. Be down in the basement screaming.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's so crazy. Like, it's like, I don't know, like, I feel like play is why a lot of us maybe even got into art.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's not only just like fun to play or healthy, like it's a need. Like we need to play. Like and if you are so focused on creating a project or making a career out of it, it's so easy to lose that. Like
Yeah.
I, I feel like I always forget that kind of thing. And it's hard because you have goals and you want everything you're doing to go towards that goal or go towards a purpose, and it's we're just not built that way. Like I think it's very therapeutic to be able to just make without an end in mind exactly. There could be maybe an ambiguous end or something, I don't know, but
Sure.
like when I'm making my beats, I know I'm going to throw it on my little beat sketch tape or whatever. But
Yeah.
I can still do anything though. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Well, sorry, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
no, that's all right. It's good.
I was just gonna say you had a good point with trying to make it your career and stuff. A big aspect of that is you're putting yourself out in front of people all the time too. So part of it becomes somewhat performative. So it's like, and then branding is everything, right? You got to be on brand. You got to do your thing. You got to be consistent. And a lot of play is not knowing what the outcome is going to be, not knowing what the end result is, not conforming to something so specific, but allowing your mind to travel. And the idea of something like that, maybe this isn't true for you, but this is true for me. You tell me if you relate to this, but it's that you're almost there's almost like kind of a fear, like, well, maybe I shouldn't do that because that might go somewhere that I don't want it to go, wherever that may be. Maybe your business is drawing blue teddy bears and you just might draw a yellow chicken. Well, that's not going to appeal to the blue teddy bear audience. I probably shouldn't do that. I should draw another teddy bear.
Yeah.
And but with play, you're supposed to just imagine and have fun and be free and explore and do whatever the hell it is that you want to do. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. I see it with artists all the time. There's a guy that I really like. I'm going to completely butcher his name, but I believe it's Roman Nunez. He's like a storyboard artist. He does a lot of just brilliant illustrations and stuff. But if you look at his early work, it was all very refined, very fine art. And now he's just like exploded with all of his own creative projects that he's been wanting to do. And it's so just full of imagination. It reminds me a lot of like Into the Spider-Verse kind of stuff, but definitely his own flavor, but way, way, way removed from that fine art kind of stuff, And what I'm seeing is a guy that's just having this explosion of like, this is me, this is what I want to do, this fun, energetic, whereas like the stuff that he was doing for years before that was this very academic, very methodical, moody, realism kind of stuff. And it's kind of fun to see someone break away from that and actually have success with it though, like not a
Yeah.
lot of people can do that. And I'm seeing someone who is playing, but also making that his career path now as well, which is really cool. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I've, kind of talked about some things like this too, and it's like I'm inspired by that personally, but sometimes those kind of things aren't necessarily like commercially viable or something, I guess.
Yeah.
And but maybe they are more than we think, and I think if there's any time we can do it, it's kind of now.
Yeah.
But that being said, like I mean, I love seeing that, and I'm thinking of like same with me, the brand. I always fluctuate with what my brand is. I've changed like the way I show myself so many times. At this point, I might as well just do what I want. But I actually just got back on Instagram. I snuck my way in, so don't tell anybody.
I won't tell them you're here.
Because I don't know, like I am afraid that they'll take it down. Like I don't know how I found a way to get back on, and it's stuck. It's been there for a while, but it's been for my music specifically, I guess. But I'm now thinking that it just might just be me. Like, why do I have to have a thing for my music and a thing for my art? And
Yeah.
like, I just want to play, experiment, And I have a TikTok, and it's like the same thing. It's like I talk or spend a lot of time sometimes looking into how to market yourself online and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of times they're like, you gotta like have like the thing you do, and that's what you do, and people know you for that, so that they'll come to you for that and this and that. And it's like, I don't know. For me as an artist, it's hard to do that. Like
Yeah.
like I can't, I don't know if I can put myself in a box anymore. And I can, but I feel like I'm losing something. Like I'm losing that, like the playfulness, the just I don't know, like, because there's that saying like, do what you love and the money will follow.
Right.
Not that
Yeah.
money's the end goal necessarily, but it's the same thing. Play, like, do your thing, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I At this point, just even for my mental health, I kind of need to just play. And I had a therapy appointment today, and you know, I actually talked to him about this, and one thing I came to the conclusion of, and he kind of confirmed is, and he was talking about, it's kind of interesting because he works with children too, and he's got like toys, sitting right there, and he's like, I that's what I do. They play, and I talk to them like while they play,
They're
and he's
probably a
like,
lot more willing to open up when they're engaged with something like that too, I bet.
Exactly, and there's art therapy and stuff, and you'll see. I've watched videos and stuff. Like you'll see people like they kind of have fun doing their painting or whatever,
Hmm.
and then the therapist will talk to them and be like, "So what's that?" And it's like this. Well, this kind of reminds me of my dad or whatever, and this and that, and then you'll see them come to these points of like they're realizing something, and maybe they're crying or something, and you're like, this what play does is it helps you to process all those things. And
Yeah.
actually there was a quote. I'm glad I actually kind of forgot about this. Here it is. Picasso has an interesting quote: art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I mean, it's so true. I don't know, I think it's
Yeah.
true.
Definitely can. And even if your everyday life is making art, I think in a way that almost implies kind of what we're talking about, where you got to do something different that then becomes play, even if art is work. So if you're painting all the time, sculpt something. If you're sculpting all the time, draw a cartoon. If you're making comics all the time, try a painting or an illustration, something that is new and not connected to all that stuff for you.
Yeah.
That could be, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that's official, but that makes sense, right? Because like when I have the most fun with art, it's always when I'm doing something that I haven't been doing or that's different than like my obligation. That's why I always go back to studies. I absolutely love just the study of art. That's something that's actually fun to me. But I can do it too much to where then it becomes kind of monotonous, and then I should stop. But I love it, and it's always fun. It always supercharges me because it's so new. It's endless. You'll never run out of stuff that you could learn about art, no matter what it is that you're studying. There's no end to it. Even if you reached the end and you're like some master, well, now you got to push it further so that there's more for the next person to learn. Like there's just so much.
Yeah.
And it's very different from making comics. Making comics is not studies. It just isn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, so are we still on the generative art thing, or did we go to the North Pole?
Well, the topic is kind of mostly centered around play, but generative
Okay.
art is something I definitely want to continue with because this is like kind of release something in me. Even like I think it was last night actually. I was making beats yesterday. That's all I do. I'm like obsessed with making music right now.
Awesome.
And so like I was doing it most of the day and came into a problem, was frustrated. I took a break from it and I was like, I did other things, but then I was like, all right, I can't listen to drums right now. Like I just need to take a break. And then I just went on Instagram because I love that. That's one thing that not having Instagram, I hated it because I love scrolling. Like it's just really helpful to just take some time and do. Sometimes I go too far, but there's just so much cool stuff to see and hear out there. And one of the things that I came across the generative art, and this stuff has been in my peripheral for a while, especially since I've been looking into modular and stuff, modular synthesis. And I finally was like, all right, let me take a good look at this stuff. And I started doing that. I was watching some YouTube videos and I'm like, this is really cool. And again, introducing things like randomness and algorithms and like deviations and all this kind of stuff. It's like there, as I've been getting into the music, there's like some of these like apps, like synthesizer apps and stuff, and some other kinds of stuff where it's always interesting. Sometimes they have a little button and it's a little pair of dice. And you
Nice.
just press it and it randomly like generates a new thing, a different kind of sound you can play or whatever. And it's like there's also other apps that are literally meant for this. They have like you insert all kinds of whatever different kind of loops. You can buy loops, you can put loops that you make in there, and you just insert them and insert them and insert them. And then when you're ready to make a song, you just start pressing, okay, I want, some melody, I need some drums, and you can switch past whichever ones you don't want. And it's like you just kind of start there. And then once you've got something you kind of like, you can mold whatever that is into what, you would normally make or want to make or whatever. And it's like introducing that randomness and even algorithms and like I said, collaborating almost with a computer. It's the same thing really as collaborating with people to a certain degree. It's not like it's, you still can kind of put your heart and soul into it. It's just you have a starting point,
Yeah.
and it's helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like doing stuff like that sometimes too. Maybe not so much with music, but kind of with music because I make music too, but not in the frequency that you do. And whenever I do, I do a lot of kind of what you were saying, where I'm sampling stuff. I'm picking up things that I like and kind of throwing them in a little box that I have to play around with. Put this here, put this there, and kind of figure it out as I go. But I do the same with art sometimes too, which I was telling you about kind of earlier, where it's sort of just like I don't know, you give yourself a weird kind of somewhat random canvas to work with and then just kind of go from there. I think I started kind of stuff like that with my dad, actually. He used to take like a sheet of paper and draw a bunch of like numbers or letters or whatever on it. And he would hand it to me and be like, here, make something out of that. And he kind of taught me how to, kind of the basics to go with that. So he'd take like a figure eight and turn it into eyeballs or whatever. I mean, this was my dad, so most of it was dirty cartoons, but it was cool. It was that generative kind of thing where it's like, well, what's this random shape? Make something with it, I like stuff like that. Sometimes you get some weird anomaly kind of things that come out of that. It doesn't have to be shapes or I mean, it doesn't have to be letters and numbers. It could be just random shapes too. And I've seen other artists do that too. There's a lot of like forms of this that I think are surprisingly interesting since we have machines that are now making art in kind of a similar way. We don't get to see what their brains are doing, but I imagine it's something like that. They have some kind of amorphous idea of what they're making and then they go with it. Seen some very creepy but impressive art from AI lately. It's like it looks like it knows what it's doing. It just doesn't know what human reality is. It's kind of freaky.
Yeah, the AI side of it is a little bit scary.
Yeah.
Maybe I've just watched Terminator too many times, but
Oh, well, it's going to be like that, but artists,
yeah,
art bot AIs.
the world is gonna be
Come here, I
taken over.
want to sculpt your flesh.
I actually came across this one artist, and I don't know if she's using AI, but she's got like this robot arm thing or whatever,
Hmm.
and she literally sells robot paintings. Like,
Oh, that's cool. Like,
and I'm like, and
but
they actually look neat. Like, I actually like them. Like, I couldn't believe it. Um, but there's some really interesting stuff out there for sure. And as I've been seeing this stuff, I'm like thinking, okay, maybe this is a way that I can find my way back into comics that's comfortable. Because I'm like, how can I do this with comics? Like,
Hmm.
'cause I still want to make comics, but I'm having a hard time conceiving of there's a lot to there's so much, like, writing a story is so hard, sort of, but there's ways like that I think could help facilitate that. But even the design part of it, like, I bet there's some fun ways in small versions to especially. And what I started looking stuff up, of course, and what I found out is there's an artist who's been doing it for 30 years, like this kind of thing. And I'm like blown away that I found this. Like, do you guys know who the original artist for the Garbage Pail Kids is?
No.
Well, I didn't know personally at
Is it a
all, but
robot?
yes, it's a robot. No,
What?
no. But his name is John Pound,
Hmm.
and that's one thing he does. He came up out of Art Spiegelman. Like, that's how he was like the art director to Garbage Pail Kids, and
Huh.
and
Interesting.
like he came from like the underground comics type of thing, but he also just is an artist or whatever. So anyways, after he got the Garbage Pail Kids job, like I think he had some money, he got a computer. I mean, this is back in like 1989 or 88 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he actually got a computer. um and he was, I think I don't remember exactly how it happened, but somehow he stumbled on the fact that some programming stuff was making some visual things happen. And so he was like, in his mind, he's like, well, I wonder what it would be like if a computer created a comic, like what they would create and stuff. So he started doing these like experiments and stuff, and lo and behold, he started figuring out how to make computers make comics. and
What?
and
That was the Garbage Pail Kids?
what's that?
That's how the Garbage Pail Kids got
No,
made?
that's not how the garbage. He made that, like, that's his drawings, paintings, whatever.
Okay, I see.
But this is like something else he did.
All right. All right.
And so he's been doing this, and he actually has a YouTube channel, but he all he does is he has these little like generative video music type of videos on there, and they're actually, I don't know, I think they're fun to watch. Like, what this has translated for me, a lot of what I've been doing is I've gotten really into sound design. And you know, I don't know how much people are familiar with like sound design, but it's pretty darn creative. Like, what you think you're hearing in a movie is not what you're hearing. But not only that, like I'm not into that even sound design as much as like just making cool sounds so I can make cool beats and stuff like that. And again, the modular synthesis has been part of that, but I've been finding other cool ways to do it too. And it's just exploring, making weird sounds and saying, maybe I could chop that up and make that into a cool beat. Um, and so I do that, but I want to show you guys this John Pound stuff. It's pretty. You're gonna see it, and I mean, the thumbnail shows some of it, but it's like you're gonna see it and probably be like, this isn't the comics I want to make. But that doesn't mean it's not interesting. So let me see if I can get this going here. Uh, where is it? Not that. Here we go. Oh, that's not it. Why isn't that it? I thought that was it. Okay, let me switch around again. Do again. Screen share. Yeah, we got and I just picked the wrong one. Here we go. Code art. He also has a Instagram, but there's not a ton there.
Whoa. What? I gotta make this bigger.
This is not exactly a comic, but this was generated by a computer.
What?
Him coding something. and he's got books out with it's computer generated comics. And like I said, he's been doing this for 30 years. This is, this is one that this was made by a comic, words, pictures, panels, everything. I think he might, I think he said that he colors it after the fact,
Hmm.
but you could do the colors.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, the words and stuff a lot of times are kind of nonsense, but you put in like these rules and stuff, and it causes certain things to happen. And he makes it kind of less and less nonsense through that process. And I don't know, it's weird, but it's kind of cool. And it's like, I could imagine like there might be ways to like create this generative stuff where it's like, you just have a computer like put some shapes on a page and then you use those as
Hmm.
panels and build around it.
Yeah, that could be cool for like a layout sort of idea. That'd be
Yeah.
interesting. Or you could do it like the Marvel style where you have it spit out some kind of crazy art and then you write the script after the fact. That could be fun.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, there's people who have made
Oh, that's
computer
cool.
generated like poems and stuff. Like you can have it spit out words and then make it relate and create actual sentences and I don't know, it's interesting.
What is going on with these
Yeah,
guys?
49 positions.
That's like the Kama Sutra.
Yeah, it reminds me of something else, but this is a little more goofy. I don't know.
Well, now you're getting banned from YouTube. You had a
Yeah.
good run.
So yeah, I don't know. Like this stuff is interesting. So these are like a bunch of his
Wild.
books. He's got like these sketchbooks and stuff. Computer generated sketches and I don't know. I think it's pretty darn cool.
That is wild, man. It's cool. Like when you first told me about this, I didn't think that it would generate something so complete, even if it is nonsensical. Like I don't know what I had in mind, but this idea that it's doing the art, the layouts, and the dialogue, and coming up with some kind of story too is crazy to me. That's a feat of coding. Coding is not easy. To do something like that is it's actually there's an art to that, I think. Even if the comic itself isn't like the most impressive, like, aesthetically, but it kind of is actually. It's got a neat look to it. Man, this is blowing my
Well, I
mind,
think
dude. I was not prepared for this.
well, I think that I agree. It is like crazy to think of how it would work and stuff, but I think that you kind of start small, and this is like there's actually been some as I've been looking into generative art, it's like some people say this is like generative art is like an easy way to start to learn how to code, which is
Mm,
kind of interesting. So you just start to learn how to put like a square on a page, and then you put some more like factors or whatever in, and it makes the square go in a 45-degree angle, and then you start doing this and that, and it fills
mhm.
things, and it makes other shapes and lines, and then and a lot of this generative art is interesting because first of all, it generates kind of an animation onto the page, which is pretty cool a lot of times.
Hmm.
And then also people they do a lot with like video or like GIFs and different things like that, where it's like it's actually a moving piece of art. And there's so many things. There's like modular video. There's like all this like crazy stuff, but you start small and then you just keep like changing another thing and another thing and another thing. Sometimes you break the code, you got to fix it, and then you change something else. And I think he started again. He's been doing this for 30 years. I think he started initially with some very rough things, and
Yeah.
eventually got to the point where he could make sentences that make sense. And then from panel to panel, at least the sentences kind of relate. It's not super great storytelling or anything, but it's a page that kind of makes sense and is visually interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as an art piece, that's a cool thing. Like I would put that on my coffee table and, people would be interested to look at that. I mean, I would love to just flip through it just because it's fascinating.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm very curious to read the stories now. I want to know how those turned out.
I only read like one or two that he had on the site there, but I'm gonna probably be purchasing some stuff because I think it's like you said, it's fascinating. And I think it's a part of comic history, that people don't know about.
Yeah,
Really, I mean, I've never heard of it.
it's history in the making, at least. Were
Yeah.
the stories that you read kind of like those AI scripts that you see floating around, where someone like, I don't even know if I believe these. I kind of think that AI scripts are sort of like a Bigfoot situation. Like maybe someone's making it up because they're so funny. But anyways, but like, they'll dump a bunch of Batman scripts into an AI, they say, and then it spits something out that's hilarious. Like, I eat darkness. You are breakfast to me. I will punch you into justice. Like whatever. Stupid stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. There's this video on his YouTube where it's it says it's called, I think it's called Things to Do,
Hmm.
and it's like a to-do list, a creative to-do list written by a computer. And it says what it
Huh.
is, and you can tell it's like randomly like taking like an action, like a verb or whatever, and placing it with, you know and like a task. And I don't know, like you could tell like it's got like a formula to it, and so you'll see things repeat but not in the same combination every time. And it's just interesting like what it comes up with. And I don't know, I thought it was pretty entertaining.
That sounds
um,
awesome.
yeah, let me see if I can get a link or something. I don't know, it might be hard to kind of find that, but um yeah, let's see his I
I
don't
think
know, I'm trying.
Sideburns knows exactly what I was talking about because I recognize that quote he posted. You drink bat, I drink anarchy.
I mean, that when you say that, like that makes me think of like what I've read in the comics. And yeah, he it puts together sentences. It's not like it doesn't make 100% sense, but it makes
Yeah,
enough sense to be like kind of hilarious, like you said.
that's awesome. I want to see a comic of Batman drinking bats. It's like
Yeah,
Popeye with spinach. He just eats bats for his superpower. Uh,
I
that's a
mean,
whole different
that's
story.
and I mean, how many times do we like look for like random art prompts and stuff, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
you even have one in your Discord and stuff, and you made some cool stuff, from that. And imagine that. Like let's just create like 100, Batman prompts and all illustrate them. Like
yeah.
that you can make a comic just out of those things, like the dialogue written by the computer. Like
Dude, that's like those types of things where your subject matter is imposed, I feel are some of the best creative things that you could do, creative exercises, because it pushes your boundaries. Like I get a lot of feedback from when we have done challenges like that in the past and in the present, where people are like, oh, well, maybe I'll do it, but I haven't really liked any of the prompts that you guys have done yet, but I'll jump in eventually. And it's like, no, that's the point. It's random. You're just supposed to work with it. I'm not into tea kettles, but that was the prompt that day, or whatever it is, because it really, it's that generative kind of quality where, and it's interesting because I have a bot that does this. It's not working on the Discord yet. I could get the code to work outside of Discord, but I can't, I don't know. Discord's, it's a whole other mystery, but I have a little random machine that can read text files that I've got, and it just spits them out at random. And sometimes I'll just think of interesting things that would be, kind of challenging to draw or fun to draw, and I'll type them into some text files. And once in a while, I'll hit that machine and it pulls something up, and I'll have forgotten about it because it's from like 5 years ago. Like, what? Brass knobs? What? Like, all right, I guess I'm drawing brass knobs today. Um, but you do something creative with it, maybe make a brass knob looking monster or something. I don't know, but it kind of forces you to get random and creative with this madness that you've imposed on yourself. I love it. I think it's a great chance to grow. 'Cause, everybody knows the whole, what do they call it? Jake Parker has a name for it. It's like your creative bank account or something like that,
yeah,
where
yeah.
you're like constantly depositing into it. Like, you only have what you've deposited. So if you just have that same, dusty box of influences, then you're going to keep cranking out the same variations on that. And you could wear that stuff out. So throw some brass knobs in there, I say.
Yeah, totally. And I think it also like it helps you to think of maybe new ways to even approach this stuff. Cause like, I'm thinking about it like I'm looking into like generative music and stuff. And there's like, I was listening to one thing today and it was like modular synthesis stuff. And the guy was like talking about like you can like, I mean, there are people who, first of all, they do this thing where they get the modular going in a certain way where this thing can like literally generate music for like days, weeks, months. If you
That's
just let it
nuts.
play, it'll just keep playing. And then there's like you can also find ways to like put structure in it. So I mean, songs have structure. Like, if you ever study like popular music, it's got, the verse, chorus,
Hmm.
bridge, chorus, end, like
Yeah.
intro, outro, like that's typical song structure. There's variations, but not only that, most many of the songs out there in the past, present, and probably the future are made with 3 to 5 chords that are the same 3 to 5
Right.
chords, but they're still all different songs. Like, there are, for comics, there are random plot generators. There's random character arc generators. There's random character generators.
Yep.
Name generators. There's all this stuff. Like, and we can probably come up with some ways to make some visual stuff happen too. Um, why not start your comic in that way? And, maybe it's just a mini comic. Maybe you do some one-page things here and there. Like, obviously, it's kind of hard to, say, commit to like some weird random idea and be like, okay, I'm going to make 3 graphic novels off of this thing. But,
Hmm.
it'll at least help, get the juices flowing and stuff. And who knows, maybe will be something, even bigger.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah, man. I don't know if this is a good segue for that thing I was telling you about early on, about kind of a sort of half generative, half manual sort of process that I did for Space Cat for the
Yeah,
concept.
yeah, definitely. I want to hear more about
All
that.
right, let's see. I have 2 programs open. I think I need to close one of them for this to work. Um, but this, when you mentioned this at first, I didn't know what it was. But then once I started reading up on it, I was like, oh, okay, because it said that most of the time it's all computer generated, right? But that there are some cases where there's some manual kind of interference where you operate a part of the generation process. And
Yeah, I even I don't know if they've answered me yet, but I was asking somebody because they were putting the computer generative art up on their Instagram, but then they would say like the pen they used, and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought this was computer generated. So apparently
huh,
sometimes they'll kind of use that, but then they'll also put, traditional methods to it as well. So, I mean, it's really, you can do any kind of mixture, really, I think.
that's interesting. All right, so I think this falls in line. I'm pretty sure.
I think
I
I'm
was looking for the build file that I had of this, but I can't find it anywhere. All I have are the finished products, but I can show you kind of what led to these. So, all right, so okay, cool, you're showing it. All right. So on the surface, these are just like, little scenic paintings, right? And this was from my comic Space Cat, which is unfortunately shelved for right now. But they're like little scenes, like they're kind of random. There's a lot of like weird stuff going on in some of these, a lot of like weird texture and stuff. And on
Mhm.
the surface, you might look at some of these and think, oh, okay, he just, made a bunch of crappy scenic paintings. But that's actually not how I did them. I'll show you how I did them, and we can kind of maybe do a little random thing together. So give me a search term, any kind of search term. Put me
Blood.
on the spot. Blood?
Yeah.
Oh
Blood
my
splatter.
God. Okay.
It was the first thing that came to my mind, so I don't know. Maybe okay, since it's a search term, let's go with something else.
No, we're good. We're on to the next one
Okay.
here. All right, so we got blood. All right, and this will all come together, I promise you. I don't know if it's gonna come together to make anything interesting, but we will try our best. All right, so this is the first one. Blood. All right, it's perfect. It's beautiful. All right, next search term. Anything at all. People in the chat can give us some stuff too, actually.
Oh yeah, chat. Let's hear from the chat.
I see Mr. Palmiotti, so I'm going to throw in retro and see what comes up. That should be interesting. Retro. Oh, that's pretty. I like that. All right, copy that. Just need some stuff to work with first, and then we'll.
Some fodder.
Yes. More random, the better.
Yeah, I thought of this technique. I thought of this technique as well, and I've never tried it actually, but I've known of it and always wanted to try it. So I'm glad you're showing it.
Awesome. It's been a while since I've done this too, and like I said, it might end up just being abstract. So we'll see. Swimming pool. I'm gonna combine those two. Swimming pool, hero. I'm not showing my search bar just in case something pops up that we don't want.
Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing. Okay.
That's a cool cake. I
want
a bite of that.
Love it. And majestic. Oh, that's a good one. Nifty. Cool. Hey, that's a good one. So you could use it whatever you want. When I did the Space Cat stuff, I tried to get a little bit more, I guess, manual with my picks. So I would like pick things that I thought kind of fit the book that I was working on. So I'd search like desert, mountain, whatever, just all these different sort of elements that were, along the lines of what it was that I was trying to create. But random is good too. All right, I think we got enough to start. So I'm actually gonna put the opacity down on some of this here. Give myself a white canvas to work with. We're generating, Marsh. We're generating.
Yeah.
Okay. So this one's got some text and some weird stuff on it. So I'm gonna just pop that in there. I'm gonna angle it at random. I'm gonna blur it just a little bit. Sure, box blur. Why not? All right. That's what it wanted to do, so we're going to let it do it. I'll throw a Gaussian on there because it's not quite blurry enough. All right, cool. Good enough. All right, we got this thing now. And I'm going to play with blend modes. That's kind of the key to this, is playing with blend modes. So I'm going to kind of just keep hitting the different blend modes until something starts to happen that kind of makes these look less like, sure, like that. Or, yeah, that's cool. All right, I like that. And I'm going to pop another one on there. This one's got a lot of color in it, so I'm going to fill the whole screen with this one. This cake is freaking delicious. And darken and just keep. Oh, that was kind of neat.
This is part of the This is the choice making and the curative process. You're making these decisions, not me, not anyone else.
It is true. That is true.
Influences kind of are part of this.
But the key with this, though, and because that's a really good point, and what I was taught with this is you're supposed to kind of just use your intuition. So you don't want to spend too much time on this. You want to just kind of roll with whatever catches your eye. If something's just like, ooh, that's probably the one that you want to keep. And if something's not, oh, there we go. See, that's pretty awesome. All right, our last one, and we'll see what comes of this. I'm going to angle this so that it's not so clear what it is. Maybe stretch it, mess it up a bit. All right, last one.
This is what I've been doing with sound design too. I just take random stuff, I stretch it, I move it, I change it, and then it becomes something.
Yeah. And you don't even know what it's going to become. That's kind of the fun part. This might not even become anything. Like, so I would do like a sheet of these, and see, like nothing there appealed to me. But I would do a sheet of these, and then I would stretch everything out so that it kind of filled the whole sheet. Merge that. And so now this is our this is our base, whatever this is. All right, cool. I'm going to turn the opacity down just a little bit here.
And you could even like chop that up and then turn some of those things around and
Yeah, actually you could. Like if you wanted to like take a slice from that maybe and pop that on top of this even, and then do the same thing again so that it's even more random. Starting to turn into a beautiful, beautiful mess. Whoa. Know what I'm looking at anymore. This might not work, but I'm going to go with it. All right, cool. What happened there? It just turned into mud. There we go. That's what I wanted. There's some cool stuff going on in here, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure it's like everybody here, it's kind of like looking at clouds, you know? Like you're bound to start seeing some stuff. I'm going to focus in on this because this just looks cool to me. And I'm turn the opacity down on that a little bit. And I don't know if I'm going to make anything special here. I haven't used Photoshop in forever either, so we'll see how this goes. But
there's a lot of processes like this too that I've heard, like especially when it comes to like character design and all kinds of different design. Like I've seen many different things that are very similar to this but different.
Yeah. Oh, especially for concept art.
Yeah.
What's the our canvas is so big. That's what's happening. But you could take this and, you know, it's like looking in the clouds. It's, you know, things are going to stand out and maybe use them as like a basis for something. And then you just kind of go on your own from there. But I'm seeing the little Lego figure through here. So I'm going to be using that. I don't know for what, but.
Right.
Oh, you know what? I'm kind of seeing something actually. My computer doesn't like what we're doing. All right, really quick, and then we can get back on to talking and stuff. But I see, you know, something here, like a train kind of situation, like a futuristic kind of railway.
Nice.
And this pen is absolute garbage, but hey, we're gonna roll with it. And this could be like the station. It's like a double platform. There's all waiting.
This is cool. This is like a bonus. I didn't know we were going to get a demonstration here.
I didn't either. I was just going to talk about this for a little bit, but get rid of that. I don't know what these are.
Too, that's interesting. Speaking of, as I said before, of Aaron Guzman and Jason Alexander and their mini comics, the minicomicbundles.com. Aaron often does automatic drawing. He's actually a lot of times in the Discord doing that, and that's another great way to kind of do this type of thing, where it's like you just kind of make lines, shapes, textures, all kinds of different things, and you just it's kind of, you're not really supposed to necessarily make anything, but who knows, something could come out of it that could spark an idea for what the real thing you're trying to make, you know.
Totally. Like, I don't know, this would normally be like a painting type of situation, but I like this sort of roughed in idea of this futuristic sort of train station.
Yeah, I see.
And I'm doing lines. I didn't intend to use this pen. I would normally like pick colors and do more stuff like that and paint, but you could even do it for stuff like this too, just to get you going. Like even this little bit that I'm at now, it's like, oh, cool. It's this little train station.
Yeah.
And maybe this is like a rocky sort of, you know, side to this. And there's water down there. Yeah, this could be like a freaking mountain or something. I don't know. It's like, I wasn't prepared to do a demonstration either, but it seemed like the only good way to get across sort of an idea, right? And then from there, you know, you just keep layering on top of it. Let's see, what's a good brush that I've had? Flat brush? No. paint.
Yeah, brushes are cool because they introduce randomness as well sometimes,
They
especially if
do.
it's like a weird one.
Yeah, and especially if you're gonna pull from some of the colors that are already here too, you could do some interesting things.
Hmm.
Try and like make a mountain of this.
Uh, Frank's asking what program it is. It's Photoshop.
Yeah, this is just Photoshop. Normally I would use Clip Studio, but I don't know exactly. Clip Studio doesn't have blend modes work a little different, so you're not able to like easily just flip through them. So for this kind of stuff, I definitely like using Photoshop better. But again, I haven't done this in quite a while. Kind of define some of these shapes here. I'm not going to finish this at all, but I liked this idea of like this being water and stuff down here. I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, is what it is. Kind of got a little messy here, but you don't have to stick with the same colors either. But you keep at it, and maybe like a little more time, a little more patience, and you come up with something like this. Is essentially what I was getting at. So all of these things done in the exact same way. None of this stuff was like reference images or anything. There were just things that appeared, and this one in particular I really liked because I would have never thought of like hanging some kind of dwelling or anything like off of the underside of a cliff like that, but there was just something that was sort of like happening in the image, and so I went with that. This was like like I don't know, an anthill or something, but there were some weird things happening with the overlapping images in that. And then colors too, a lot of these just sort of emerged because they were colors that I wouldn't have normally picked, but they were there and readily available. Like the craggy weird rock patterns in this, like again, those were kind of in some of the reference images that I used. And if you zoom in, you can't see the references anymore. Those became like brush strokes.
Hmm.
um,
Also,
yeah.
you still kind of kept the references in there.
Oh yeah, yeah, right on top of it. Like you can see through, like this is
Mm,
maybe a rock or a tree or something in there.
it's
You could
cool.
see
It
just
is.
a hint of like maybe a riverbed or something. I don't know. This was a few years ago, so I don't remember what the references were.
It's kind of cool, all the textures too. Like I love that.
Yeah,
I would
that's
just almost like it reminds me of sound design. Like I would grab that little like tiny slice of texture and like make something with
yeah,
it.
totally. Well, and that's kind of what happened here. Like I didn't paint all the texture that ended up in there, but I definitely shaped the rock, and then pulled some of my own colors to start accenting it. A lot of
That's
fun. It's a lot of fun, and it reminded me of this when you were talking about generative art, because I felt like this was about as close as you can get while still having a lot of control. But like it's that base that you're starting with where all the fun comes into play. It's going with this madness and creating something from it. Like I'm sure everybody here looked at this and saw something different, or could zoom in on a different area and see something else.
yeah, totally. And you mentioned the word control, and I think that's an interesting word as well. Like you know, I think I think control sometimes is the problem.
Yeah,
We have too much control, and it's easy to become a control freak, like when you're doing your art. Like I know I do it.
totally. And it's good to lose control sometimes.
Totally, yeah. There's actually this. I'm trying to find it on my phone. I did some screenshots. There's a pretty cool talk on YouTube. A guy talking about generative art, and he had some cool diagrams. And I just want to see if I can find it real quick. Okay, here it is. Okay, so on one side he's got like it's like a line, just a line with two on each end there's like a spot and then something in the middle. So on all the way to the left there's like this idea of like full control. And then not halfway but much further than halfway he's got a line, and then on the other side is total chaos. And so this generative process is like it's introducing some form of chaos, and that line that's kind of in the middle but closer to chaos that's what he calls the sweet spot. So for him, that's like that's the sweet spot. But you might want to have more control, so you can move that line a little bit to the left, so you have more control, but you're still being informed a little bit by a generative process. And it doesn't matter how far you go to one way or the other. It's still kind of helpful, you know, to kind of lose some of that control.
Well, now I've developed a weird worm, man. I've completely lost control, Marsh. Get me out of here. I'm seeing weird things in here.
Totally.
Yeah, it's all about that balance. You know, you want to give yourself some control, clearly, if you want to finish a piece, but, you know, letting yourself kind of wander and play, I think is a cool thing to do sometimes.
I definitely think it's helpful. So let's see. We'll bring it back to here we go. Yeah, back to the hat.
Bring it on back.
Back to the crazy hat, which is totally out of control.
Oh, yeah. My standard look now.
What's that? Your standard
standard look now. Yeah.
Well, I guess that's kind of like the way of YouTube now. I mean, I go on, you know, I go and watch a video with Frank and Ann, and they're wearing weird things.
Oh, really? Nice.
And I've seen many other YouTubers do the same thing. And
right.
Hey, I don't have any cool hats. The weirdest hat isn't even weird. It's like I just got like Alterna hat. You know, it's kind of cool.
It's a little Christmassy. You got the red.
Yeah, I never wear it though, like on videos, because it's like, well, I like Alterna and I like the hat, but I'm like, am I misrepresenting Alterna by, you know, since I'm not part of it exactly? I don't know. But anyways, so yeah, I don't know. I think that we have a need to play, and introducing play into our process, even for the proper projects that we're working on, obviously is a pretty cool way of getting some extra creativity in there. And I don't know, I personally think it's really healthy either way. So yeah, I think that's about it, man. Once again, like I said, there's links for Mike's Instagram if you want to see more of his process of coming up with this stuff. That's one thing I love about your Instagram is you show like the creation process. You don't just show the finished works.
Yeah, I do that a lot, for better or worse.
You even explain what you're doing too. Sometimes you used to put videos and stuff. I don't know if you still do that, but you know, it's really helpful, you know, for me at least personally.
Cool.
So I would definitely recommend you guys check that out.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, I don't do videos so much anymore. I've been thinking about doing it, but it's a lot of work. It's a whole lot of work. And I don't know. I don't have the bandwidth right now. But every once in a while, like every once in a blue moon, I do put up a Patreon post, because I do have a Patreon where I'll break down not everything I do. I'm working on getting better at that, but the coloring specifically, I've got several breakdown videos of the coloring process up there now that I don't share on Instagram as much, because that gets a little bit more. I share like the actual layers and high resolution and stuff, different lighting, whatnot. But it's tough, man. It's tough trying to explain stuff, and it's tough trying to learn stuff too. And so even if I don't quite know what I'm even doing, I think somehow just sharing the process of what I'm doing can help somebody else, you know. Like somebody in the chat said that I think it was Anna said in the chat, she saw several ideas for character concepts and that stuff. I didn't see characters at all. I saw a weird train, you know? And so it's kind of like that, where like maybe I share something that, you know, kind of worked for me, but maybe someone else sees something that they can expand on it for them, you know? And I know I love seeing that stuff. Artists that post their work in progress things, that's key. So I try to do that as much as I can. A lot of times I regret it. Like the first time I posted this one, I ended up pulling the picture because it was just her, and I was like, well, that's fine. But then I added the skeletons. I'm like, oh, that's so much better. I'm gonna post that. But yeah, I still try to leave all the stuff up there, especially for comics.
And I never draw skeletons on purpose.
Never. They're fun, man.
They look so hard to draw.
No, you just don't worry about all the bones and stuff.
Try to be anatomically correct, and
no, you don't.
I know, that's why I have a problem.
This guy's got, I don't know, I can't even tell how many ribs. I think he's got 4 ribs. He's falling apart.
that's the thing, and that's, I mean, that's what these processes are for, to help you let go of some of that stuff. Because I get bogged down in stupid details. You know, it's
Oh
frustrating.
yeah. Me too, man. That was one of the things that was holding me up with my writing my comic for a while. I was so worried about the details. And then I started thinking like, man, like that's not you're not trying to create like a detail-oriented thing, you know? And so obsessing over those little things isn't good. And so I actually started plucking things out and leaving some things intentionally unanswered or vague. I'm like, that works way better. It's a little more abstract. It's kind of like the four ribs and the skeleton thing. It's like there's enough there that somebody
Yeah.
reading is going to pick up on it and maybe infer something, but I don't need to detail every last thing, you know. I need to get drawing is what I need to do. This has been taking too
Yeah.
long. But
Well, it's
yeah,
interesting. I mean, to maybe like hit on a little bonus point here is,
bonus.
speaking about, yeah, we're on the bonus level. Uh, yes. So that is like this kind of. Also been really into minimalism,
Ooh,
and
yeah.
you know, I tried it with my apartment, and it made me feel gross. It was a little bit much.
I
I needed a
remember when you
little.
were going through that. I was like, "You're getting rid of comics, man? What? No, what are you doing?"
Well, I still have a ton of comics, and I'm building it up again. So, um, but the using minimalism in art and music, even I've been, a lot of times I'll be working on music, and I'm adding more sounds and adding more this and adding more that, and it's like it doesn't need that. People don't hear half that stuff anyways. Like,
Sure.
and then I listen to some of my favorite musicians and artists and stuff, and some of their stuff, some stuff is like super minimal, and I'm like, that really is even more satisfying, honestly. And same thing with art, and I was thinking about like how the principle, because all this was another thing I want to talk about at some point, is creative like the language of creativity, because it's universal, really. Like, you find people who learn more than one language, and then they start to just learn many languages, and it's like, how do
Yeah.
you do that? Well, it's because there's like systems to all of them that kind of are similar or the same.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with creativity. Like, I find now I can kind of go back and forth to music and art, and it's really the same stuff. So one of the things is like negative space, like introducing negative space into my music, like I
Hmm.
think is a really helpful thing. So like in points of rest, and not having everything be so busy, because if everything's busy, then you don't notice things. You need that contrast. So
Yeah, for sure. That's really interesting. Is yeah, with art, it's funny and it's sad at the same time. It's bittersweet. But I notice like things that I put hours and hours and hours into, they'll get some attention and I get some feedback and it's like, all right, great, cool, good job. But then there's these other things that are literally just a doodle, like just a thing that took me maybe 5 minutes, barely any thought into it, and people will either love that just as much or more sometimes. And so it kind of got me thinking in the realm of all this stuff that we've been talking about speed and about that idea of play and fun and all that. And that's kind of where I'm at in my head as far as developing my, I don't want to say style because my style is my style, but like the aesthetic, I guess, for my book is I want to do something that I think is more loose and that I can do quickly, because I don't think people are going to care if I spend thousands of hours or hundreds of hours, as long as the idea is clear, and the work is fun and looks cool. And, that stuff, there's a time and a place for that stuff. And I think that's for commissions and illustrations and stuff. But for comics, I think, I mean, just being indie and having to keep up with some kind of schedule, like you have to work quickly. You have to develop something that's, adequate. It doesn't have to be the best that you could possibly do, because I mean, that could take you forever and you could never be done because,
yeah.
nobody's perfect. So yeah, that was a big thing. It was actually if you do look on my Instagram or on my Facebook, it's my profile picture now, is that pug drawing that is a stupid little pug in like an army hat. And I drew it on a live stream with Teresa and you. And I was like, it blew up. People have asked me for prints of the damn thing, and it's like if I were to print it to be like that small, it's not it's not meant to be printed.
Yeah.
But
I mean, was
it got
this
me thinking.
were you intending to make a product out of this? I don't know.
No, yeah, that's another one.
I was like, dude, while you're sending me some other prints, I'll give you some extra money if you send
Right.
me this. This is awesome.
That's another one. Yeah. And I had a lot of fun doing that, but I did it quickly, you know? It's so weird how that works, but there's something to it, man. Like just having fun, keeping that energy in it, things just kind of turn out. And if you zoom in on any of that stuff, it's gnarly. The colors aren't quite in line. There could probably be some better shadows or, you know, better construction on it or something, but you know, put together, it looks like a guy having fun drawing and that produce something fun and cool that people like. It's weird. It's very
Well,
weird. So if
there's
people
that.
are going to like things just about the same no matter what, then I'd kind of rather put less time and energy into it and have more fun doing it, you know? So
There's
this whole topic is, man, it's right where I'm at right now. I don't know how to distill it down into like a formula that I could use, but that's where I'm at, you know. How can I have the most fun every day drawing my comic, not stressing myself out, and still produce a product that people are going to enjoy and appreciate and think, oh, you know, this is good, you know. He didn't
Yeah.
do it wasn't sloppy, but he did it quick, you know. It's that
Yeah.
SWAT mantra. What is it? Fat, not quick, not fast. Something. I don't remember.
Well, maybe it's, it's kind of gauging what you're feeling, where you're at, and if the stress and the frustration's coming up, maybe it's time to introduce a little randomness, and a little
Yeah.
play, somehow, some way, throw some shapes on a page and make something like.
Roll the dice.
Yeah, I don't know. And also the other thing I wanted to say is like, this kind of thing and whatnot, like, it's just like, it's like there's so much energy and it's like, if I intentionally say, okay, I want to create a piece with the most energy possible and I just try to do it, or if I just energetically make something, I think the energetically make something is going to have more energy than the trying to infuse energy into something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to do. Like you got to conjure up something from nowhere if you're going to try to force it in, you know. But if you're just having fun naturally, like that's just going to come out, you know. Like I find when I'm having fun, honestly, like I'm laughing while I'm drawing. I crack myself up if it's like goofy and silly. And like usually if I find it funny and like I can't stop laughing while I'm drawing, I feel like other people are gonna feel that too. Or if
right.
it's weird and bizarre, but in some way just kind of, you know, quirky and neat, like I feel like those are the things that people respond to as well. But then I
Yeah.
spend like 1,000 hours on some commission and the person who commissioned it is happy, but everyone else is just like, no, okay, cool. You know, like, oh, great. Shouldn't have ordered 100 prints of this one. Just order 1,000 of the pug. Great. Okay, yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
But you know,
I mean, if you're making like, if you're making like shooting sounds while you're drawing, I think that's a good sign. Like,
yeah. Todd McFarlane method.
yeah, you just put the thing there and then slap that there, and you got a monster.
The thing with monsters is you gotta give them a lot of taste. He sounds exactly like my grandfather. I love Todd McFarlane. It's
Really,
exactly how my grandfather talks. He's always talking about baseball.
he's
Anyways,
such a character. That's one thing I love about the '90s guys. Like they're all character. A lot of them are characters. They're just
yeah.
like they're fun to listen to. All right. Well, I think we did it. I think if what you said is true, then you're probably getting pretty hungry right now, and I probably should have
Yeah.
some food tonight too.
Nacho time. Nacho o'clock.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on and talking about this. This was random. I just hit you up today, and I don't know, when I thought of this, I was like, oh, it'd be great to talk to Mike about this. So I'm glad you came on, man. Thank you.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. I think we did a show.
Cool. All right. Anytime, man. And thank you everybody for hanging out in the chat and giving Mike some cool ideas for creating some fun stuff. And everybody on the replay, hopefully you got something from this. Thank you for watching. And other than that, I think
Ooh,
that's
I thought of something fun.
what's that.
Screen grab, not you, but somebody, screen grab the weird thing that we put together and do your own thing and post it on Instagram and tag us. I would
Yeah,
absolutely love to see what you guys did with that.
that would be really
'Cause you
cool.
saw things that I definitely did not see, and I want to see those for sure.
Me too. Martian music. That's my Instagram.
Oh, cool.
Check that out. And yours is what? Mike.
Mike Emeritz, yes. I
Mike
think it's
Emeritz?
on the screen, isn't it? Should be.
Oh yeah, at Mike Emeritz. Cool. So, and there's links in the description. So yeah, definitely tag us. I want to see some of that.
Yeah, sweet. Oh man,
All right.
I'm excited now.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll talk to you guys later, and thank you very much. Later.
Ho ho ho! Happy holidays.